Hey everybody, today on the show we're going to look at a possibly big budget bloated, nope, a possible bloated big budget short film that Jeff and I worked on.
Nope.
We did too. Anyway, here's the intro. Alright, yep, welcome to the show. Today, if you guys could see how destroyed our office is right now, it is absolutely appalling. The pigsty that Jeff and I are currently living in. Clients would be unhappy, people would be unhappy. Clark is here. Hello, Clark. The stream looks like it's frozen. It doesn't look frozen here.
Possibly bloated. That's why.
Because
we bloated the stream.
Yeah, possibly bloated. I don't know if the stream's working or not, so I'm going to keep going like it is.
Yeah, just keep going.
Jeff's frozen in time.
I am.
That's how it works. But anyway, today on the show, we're going to end up talking about a short film that we did. We're going to show the short film in its entirety, and then we'll follow it up with a cool VFX breakdown scenario. So what we'll have is 3 different versions of the film in different stages, and we'll just kind of talk through it. You guys can ask questions.
Yeah, we're fixed.
And we'll go over stuff like that. It's basically... one of them's got like temp VFX, one's got semi-finished VFX, and the other one has just like some light color grade, or maybe no color grade. I don't remember. Jeff will have to tell me. It's been a while since I've seen it.
It's been a while since I've seen it. So we'll figure it out.
But we thought it would be an interesting breakdown, something a little bit different. But this is a big budget short. So when I say big budget, I don't mean 10, 15, 20 grand. I mean grand. We're into the. I was channeling somebody else there. We're into the.
Yeah, you were.
We're closer to 6 digits.
$1 million?
$1 million. That's 7 digits, right?
Yeah, that's 7 digits.
Anyway, so you can kind of see, was it bloated? Did we waste the money? Who knows? And I'll talk about known flaws. There are some of them are mine. We talked about the short before. It's called Aether. If you guys may have already seen it, some of it's in our demo reel and trailers and all that kind of gimmicks. But there we go. That's what we're going to do on this portion of the show at some point. We're exhausted, man. We are exhausted. And you're going to see footage trickling out on the little vlog I started for myself, and Jeff it might as well just be the Crash Show vlog, but
it really kind of is.
When it's me and Jeff together, that's what you get. But we took this, had this gig.
Once I start mine, it's going to be you and me as well, probably. So.
Yeah, but I will definitely not talk,
and that will not be a everyday. I can already say that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Guarantee.
But inside of it, like you'll see in some of those pieces, you might have picked up on. Like we went on, we were out of town for a while. We took this job. It's an awesome gig. We're really happy. Can't wait to show you guys the footage and do a breakdown on it. It's a beautiful mix of different types of footage, but it's I feel like pretty cinematic for a corporate piece. It's nice. Anyway, the journey was from here to Chattanooga, which is a video dropping tomorrow, which is just literally a cut down portion of the 6-hour conversation me and Jeff ended up having. You guys think this show is full of talking? No! That one would blow you out of the water. Yeah. Some of it relevant to your life, some of it, unless you're a wrestling fan.
True.
Or Star Wars fan, or born in the 90s. I mean, grew up in the 90s, rather. We were not born in the 90s.
Or punk rock fans.
Or punk rock fan, or whatever.
Or weird random music fans.
That's part of it. But so we went up to Chattanooga. We bounced from Chattanooga to Birmingham, and in Birmingham something magical happened, which was a 3 a.m. call time. We tried to go to bed at 8 p.m.
Yeah, we went to bed close to 11.
It did not work well. We were exhausted, but that day was cuckoo, as we had just bounced Eastern to Central. We're used to Central. Got up that morning, shot all day from starting shooting at 4, and we wrapped at 7.
What, that night?
Yeah. Not counting the other portions.
But that's also counting packing up and traveling to
And that's what I was saying. We wrapped at 7,
Yeah.
but in between that, we jumped time zones again. We packed up twice, drove across, shot in Atlanta, and finally got to our epic hotel room on the 47th floor.
Yes.
Where Jeff got one of the greatest time lapses ever.
Still not released yet.
Yeah. And then we also saw a dude like hanging off a building. It was delightful.
Yeah, that was one
And
of
he
the
was not
scariest
washing
things I
windows.
think I've ever seen in my
It was
life.
freaky deaky. We don't know what was happening. I got it on tape though. I filmed it.
I know.
So, you know, it was a pretty crazy round, but we were trying to, you know, put out content. We're also trying to make a living and do all the fun stuff. The content is fun because we hang out with you guys, and it's just kind of like a thing now. It's something you look forward to most of the time. And if we don't, it has nothing to do with you folk. It has to do with the fact that Jeff and I just don't sleep anymore.
Never.
And we get buried.
So it works though.
All right, well, wife put me back on the diet, so I'm drinking clear beer. What you got there, Jeffers?
Not clear beer.
No, yours is the opposite.
Yeah, mine is very hazy.
Mm-hmm.
Hazy like a fox from New Realm Brewing in Atlanta.
I did have one of those prior to the...
That was rat beer.
Yeah, that was a rat beer. Diet mandate. I got slapped with one of those.
This is prior to the whole client piece that's in your video.
Oh, yeah, that's all in there. I think that one's up. The fail
It's up
episode
there.
is us drinking these beers. We got a little rowdy. Won't lie.
It wasn't necessarily off of beer though.
No, it was just sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
It was like tremendous amounts of sleep deprivation. That's how it goes. All right, so I'm going to set up the video and I'm going to turn it loose. It's about 8 minutes. So if you're watching this after the live stream and you'd like to skip ahead, it'll be about 8 minutes whenever I'm done and jumping over. So this is it was a pretty high profile proof of concept short film. We've talked about it before. We had, you know, Alex Funky as our DP, who has a bunch of Oscars, or a couple Oscars, 3 Oscars, for VFX work, and some of those include for Lord of the Rings and the original Total Recall. Lots of cool stuff. The production designer was the art director on Blade Runner, Demolition Man.
Yeah.
I tried to get him to explain the seashells. It didn't happen. And David's done a ton of movies. He's super brilliant and super fun to be around. The ship designer was a guy named Kim, and Kim Bailey is like if you pull up his stuff, he's got like Star Trek crazy sci-fi stuff tied into it. And then the phone's ringing. We don't even have a phone. The movie theater rerouted the phone. And then the hair and makeup person was Robin Matthews, and she had won an Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club. So pretty heavy hitters on the crew side. We've talked about that portion before, but that's kind of that stack. There is a couple things I want to mention to look for in this first pass, and we'll point them out in a second. Is you can see a little shifting in the color grade when you watch the different versions, so kind of keep this locked in. Oh, the score. Let me backtrack one more time.
Yeah?
Then we had another Oscar nominated. The guy who did the Foley and the sound effects and such was, I forgot his name, I'm so sorry, sir, but he did the sound and such for Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit series, so he's got some pedigree in that side. And then the score was done by Paige Hamilton from the band Helmet, and then Patrick Kirst, who's his writing partner, that are friends of mine. They did the score. And so, nice, I mean, money. We put all the money into it. One of the things the other thing to look for is one of the shots in here, we had a behind-the-scenes guy named Matt. Good old Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Matt has a YouTube channel. I can't remember what it is, though. But anyway, Matt was there, and I had flown him in from Cali. He's a really good friend of mine. And so Matt, he was shooting on GH4. So there is, back then, and we just literally had this conversation. Back then, we were matching red versus GH5. This is shot on the red.
But it was GH4.
But it was GH4 back then. So I guess we could throw this stuff up there and just troll bait from the past. But it's kind of fun. There's only 1 or 2 shots in there that are GH4. Once you know which ones they are obvious, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But you may not know which ones they are. There's a little bit of grain in this too, because we use Zeiss Super Speeds, my least favorite lenses of all time.
Uh-huh.
What else?
I want to say it was Super Speeds, the 4th gen. I'm trying to remember which generation.
No, they were the older. Is there a 5th gen now?
I think so.
They were not the newest at the time. They were
the first and the
one
seconds
generation.
were from the 70s.
These might have been 70s.
Because seconds are pretty sweet.
I don't know. These I was not a fan.
Yeah.
3rd or 4th. I don't know what they were.
No, I wasn't a fan of these ones.
I did not.
Not for what we were doing.
No, not a big fan. Anyway, so I'm going to show the short film. You guys can watch it, and we're going to drink our clear beer and hazy beer. And again, it runs about 8.5 minutes, somewhere in there. So if you just want to skip ahead to the talking and breakdown section, good for you.
Unless you're live.
Unless you're live, you guys are stuck.
The ether-rich island of Dios sat separated from the rest of the world until the gods lifted the capital city of Waveland into the sky. Its people were assigned the responsibility to benevolently govern those on the surface below. Clinging relentlessly to his seat of power despite calls for reform, the Chancellor has a secret agenda of his own. Though divisions formed between the peoples of Waveland and Specter, a common thread remained. The people's desire for the potent and intoxicating effects of ether was insatiable. Imposing a class-driven society upon the people of Specter, Waveland continues to amass their social currency. Although illegal, sirens sell ether at the events, even under the governing eye of Waveland guards. approved only to pre-selected candidates, a commoner will infiltrate the qualification through a series of backworld deals with pirates, thieves, and miscreants. A pact was made within the tribes of Specter, setting in motion a series of events that will forever change the land of Dios. Which was meant to be a remedy from the gods has become a poison. The people have a name for it.
All right, so there you go. That's the short film in its entirety. Rather beefy, rather beefy beast. I saw in the comments, we were laughing at those, that MPEG brought up this would look great in HDR. The only catch to this is we have it. We could do it in HDR. We're going to experiment with it.
Yep.
The downside is it's a 2K print because at the time the VFX, the cost differential for taking VFX to 4K,
yeah, 4K
and this is still
2K.
The same case for a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Would have lifted our budget. I think our VFX budget by another $60,000 or $70,000. So like it would have just put us way over budget. And there was there was money wrapped up in this for a lot of promo and some other things that we did. So, yeah, there's a little bit of a steampunk influence, but we didn't want to go too hardcore steampunk, so it's kind of a mix. There's some steampunk elements. There's a little bit of, like, post-apocalyptic. That's an obsession of mine. Yeah. And this was co-written and co-directed by Horst, who's been on the show before.
Yep.
Who's now a fancy pants at VFX. One of the biggest...
He's a fancy guy.
Yeah, one of the biggest VFX... Well, I should say one of the biggest studios, not VFX, just studios in the world doing that stuff. So we would probably have to make that a 2K HDR print if we did that, which it's worth exploring. It would still look epic at 2K. I mean, the difference is the difference. Or it would look like a Christopher Nolan film where you would have shots that we could bring up to 4K.
We could do that.
And then it would go pew to 2K, to pew to 4K.
No, let's keep it all the same.
Yeah. Or we could just crop it all in, put some fake anamorphic bars on it, and lift the cinema value by 100 and make
do
that...
some street filters in there.
Street filters. And make that... But, I mean, I don't know. It's what it is. Yeah. So that's the short film. If you have questions or thoughts or whatever, throw them in there, and we'll answer them as we go along. That's the first time I've watched it in probably 2 years. It's relatively old.
It's the first time I've ever watched the finished product ever.
Really?
Yeah. Like I was telling you, I don't watch finished products.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because
it gets through with my thing and I'm done.
Yeah. And that's policy and practice for Jeff. That's
it is a policy and practice of mine. I've only watched 3 things now completed.
Yeah.
With that.
So I'll break down. We'll go over the story, and I'll do the when we go into the technical, we'll do all that stuff. But I will say there's a few things that, as a I'm not speaking for horse portion of it, only for my own, but as a writer director, that I would have done differently. So first off, so you guys know, there's a full length script and comic book that exists.
There is.
And the comic book got published. I mean, it came out, but you had to find us, and it was a whole thing. But all of that happened, and the one thing I wish I would have done with this, and some of the feedback we got from audiences, I like overview films. I'm one of those people. I'm a weirdo. I like big story setups.
Yeah, you do.
I'm a big fan of that stuff, but the world isn't, and I was rebellious, and I didn't listen to some advice. You know, some advisors told me, it was like, you need to make this more of a narrative short and less of a world building short. But I was very, confident in the idea that the world building would draw the attention. But the biggest complaint I've gotten, and we went all for festivals and Comic-Cons and stuff, was that people didn't know what the story was, and they weren't intrigued enough to get hooked into it. So I'm receptive to it. It's a mistake that I'm at the helm on. I own that portion of the error. So that's part of it being a little bit bloated, falls on me in that space. I think we probably should have had a little bit less money in some cases to really force us into...
I actually agree on that.
Force us into more creative endeavors. There's some shot structure and stuff that's just really slow. There's a techno crane. I mean, we had some epic stuff to really pull it off. And we did it because we believed in the story, and the investors believed in it, and they wanted to make it happen. And things started to move, and really things opened up. But it got tied up in a lot of different stuff. I'd still love to make it, but obviously it's a high budget project.
Yes.
And I think that's where it turned some people off. If you look at movies now and the way productions are done now, no matter what you think the budget is, you start breaking it down, and once you understand the inside line a little bit more of set pieces, and I've got like multiple set pieces happening in a short film, that means I'm going to have even more set pieces in the feature film. Producers look at that and go, nah, we're only going to give them like 3 set pieces. And most movies now, even big budget movies, have 3 to 4 set pieces. Maybe 5 major ones, but they don't get into multiple. I mean, Star Wars doesn't even do it anymore. If you look at The Last Jedi,
they don't anymore.
It's 3 sets.
Yeah.
I mean, you maybe 4, but it's primary sections. It's not a ton of major set pieces, and that's a huge budget movie. So anyway, that's kind of the thinking on it. Me just being honest. That's one of the most bloated elements, was the storytelling failed a little bit, in my opinion. And that's on me. Again, I'm not going to take Horst blame, though I blame him equally.
I blame Horst just as much.
I just blame Horst for anything.
I do too.
So that's that side of it. Now, in terms of the technical, we're going to bring up this Play Blast version. We'll talk over top of it best we can, so you guys can hear us. If there's not any questions, Dylan?
Only question so far has been a great location. Where was the shot?
Oh, okay. All right, so that is an old Civil War fort that is located on the edge of Mobile Bay, so it's local here. That's an old Civil War fort. We scouted it. We scouted several. We have 2 forts. Mobile Bay has a fort on the eastern coast and the western coast, or mouth, I should say, of the bay. And we looked at originally wanted the one on the western side, but it was nowhere near. It was way bigger.
Yeah. And
there was construction, like they were doing some renovation type stuff, like protective, And it was an epic space, and that's what we really wanted. And then when I scouted this one, I figured out how to make it work, or we kind of structured the story. And so that's an old Civil War fort. And you'll see in the breakdown, when you guys see this, you'll see like what all we added. And we added a lot, right? I mean, there's a lot of VFX and compositing and to kind of build more.
There's a lot of compositing in this thing.
And the workflow on it's a whole different beast. If you've never done like this kind of workflow, it was a whole different beast because we're dealing with a vendor that's out of house, out of country even. We're dealing with a vendor out of Canada, I believe Canada. And so, we had to pipeline files. Jeff was exporting IPXs and all kinds of craziness. Much bigger endeavor. You'll get there if you want to get to this spot. I just wanted to show it, not to brag on us, but to just kind of break it down. Like, let's just have the conversation about it because maybe you can learn something or not make the same mistakes that, like I said earlier, with the story being bloated. And we'll look at some of the technicals. So, yes, it was shot at Fort Gaines. Fort Gaines on Dauphin Island, Alabama. And they were very cool to us. We took that place over for 3 days.
Yeah.
And it was freezing, so the poor girls in the
it was
skimpy clothes.
It was very, very cold. I actually had because of our newest vlog piece of going in between the interstate.
Oh yeah.
Driving a car into a Civil War fort was actually kind of one of the coolest things I've done.
It's pretty epic.
It was kind of awesome.
And I'll post some. Maybe I'll post them in the links or at the end of the video or something if you want to see. I think I can link to them. Some of the behind the scenes stuff. The same guy Matt who had the GH4 put together these really great like day breakdowns. So they're
he was really
like,
good at it.
He was really good at it. They're like sizzle reels for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some really cool stuff behind the scenes with gear and you know personalities, and he did a fantastic job. So I'll get those together for you guys as well. Is there any question before we go into the technical?
No, just a lot of people saying that they really liked it.
Oh, I appreciate it. All
right,
right,
so asking what's wrong with 2K HDR. Absolutely nothing.
There's nothing wrong with 2K HDR. We're giving Travis a hard time because
we're trying to go 4K.
He's the chief. He's the
4K.
CTO, the chief technical officer. He's Geordie LaForge and Scottie Pippen. What was the guy's name on Scottie?
You said Scottie Pippen, so now I'm thinking Space Jams?
Yeah, Scottie Pippen is the engineer on Space Jams. I love that movie. It has Bill Murray.
It does.
No,
weirdly enough, I don't think it has Scottie Pippen.
James. What's the guy's name? Scottie. Oh, Star Trek original.
Ah. Now I know.
Welcome to the Fail Lab.
Yeah.
All right, let's pop this guy up. I think it's going to work. So, the hard drive's spooling.
Yep.
I hear that sound. Scottie Pippen. Yeah. Dutch video shooter. Hey, buddy. I haven't seen you in a while. I heard you got to 1,000, brah.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your 1,000.
I'll just go ahead and do this.
Just do a yes. I wish I was Daniel Bryan sometimes because of Brie Bella. That's all. Why did the blimp blow up at the beginning? All right, well, we'll look at it. It just blows up because the producer wanted more action on the front. It actually gets shot by the other flying ship that's called a Vimana. It gets shot by one of those. Let's look at the breakdown, and we'll talk it through. So let's see. Audio still working? Yes, it does. Look at this. So there you go. You got the play blast on the right, and at the bottom you have the semi-finished product. You can kind of see how we put things together. So the left side is a plate that's from New Zealand, shot on red. This is in your backyard, bro. If you watch this at some point, you'll recognize it. So now we're at the fort. You can see tracking markers. You can see vignetting. Watch this jump. See that jump there that happened on the top right? That is us doing a VFX loop.
Yes.
We had to match.
Mixing two different shots and to be one shot.
Yeah.
One was a non-HDR shot and one was an HDR-X. This is talking red HDR, which takes two different shots out of it. But it was trying to mix two different shots together.
And we had to do that because we ran out of light, and it's literally hiding some edits together at the same time. So when you get to here, you can see, obviously, in the bottom shot here, you can see there's been a comp, and we've added in some background texture. You can see a little bit, two different kind of slight looks between the two. It's very subtle. One, it could be compression, but you can see the different looks of our two characters as she picks up some fresh drugs from a half-naked girl and then snorts them out of this ring right here. So the VFX you're seeing there, the little powder going up her nose, the little smoky stuff, which is Aether. Honestly, we could not get a VFX house to give me what I wanted, so I created it myself.
Yeah. And
so that was a DIY. You want to talk about the grade of this shot? Because it's like, it was brutal.
It is multiple. That is probably the biggest power window shot I've ever done.
Nah, what about the last one?
No, okay, true.
Yeah.
The last one probably truly is the last.
There's a lot of tracking.
There's a lot of tracking. We had lighting coming in on one side, natural light coming in on another side, so I had to match the right side to the left side. We had to add some digital lighting on his back.
Yeah, there was.
Just a little bit.
And then again, same VFX gag there. That was all Drew made.
And it's actually kind of, going back to it, that was their practical lighting.
Yeah, it was a practical lighting gag that Alex and Marcus figured out. Yep, that's fact. So this upper area was like where the cannons used to be. You can kind of see them. We had hidden it a little bit with like trees and such for the wealthy and the very scantily clad. So we had to rig a lot of that. So there's a lot of fake power happening here because there's no power at a fort. They didn't have it back then. Same with these light bulbs. I think these are a little bit, this is my call and my fault. Those are a little bit too much in frame in my opinion.
Yeah. That's another HDRX shot,
It
actually.
was. Oh, no, that was
Because-
I think we racked that. I think we racked the iris on that.
Okay.
I think.
I can't remember.
I thought
I thought it
actually
was an
remember.
HDRX.
This is actually a techno crane shot, and my biggest hate on the end of that shot is that vignette,
Yeah, me too.
which is a super speed
I'm
problem.
not a fan of it myself.
I mean, we could have cropped past it, but we lost some resolution if we did.
You lose resolution, but you also lose some of the wide.
And that's what we were after.
Yeah, the width to it.
Kind of keep it in.
Um,
There's a little sourcey in that one, but that was a better take for performance.
Yeah.
So in the right hand side, you can see a lamp glowing up. Wasn't
and
a
the
big fan
original
of that.
one we did is the pushed-in version
That's correct.
to see if we could get it.
And this is another techno, so that you can see the techno worked the same day. That's the trick that we did
Yeah.
here to work it through. My concern with this is Jeff's fixed it. If you look at the left, the top left, his
Yeah.
shoulders are blown out, and then on the bottom right, which is closer to the final grade, you have a little more highlight control. It's also a little bit more pink, which we were talking about. I wasn't a big fan of the. That's not Jeff's fault. It's where we landed.
Yeah,
In the
it is.
timetable we had, that's where it worked out.
Some of this type of stuff we were talking about.
Yeah. So the sun that's hitting them is shiny boards, very artfully done. That's Alex doing his thing, kind of mixing it in. This stuff wasn't so bad to grade though.
No, this stuff right here was pretty awesome. Really, the hardest part was getting to that rough sketch out first to send to VFX.
Right.
Because we had to come up with a look before we really got to the finished part of color.
Right.
So we make sure that we had the right.
Yeah. So now you can see a really big
Yeah,
difference
that's a
on these
big
VFX.
composite right there.
So the key that they were able to pull was from the fact that we had a beautiful blue sky. There's a little bit of roto, but it's very small, very little. And we were able to get a really great key because the sky was so great. And you can see it here. I mean, the composite difference that these guys did was phenomenal. You can also see we got a shot at one of the Vimanas out of the shot. We decided to 86 it. These renders were pretty tough. There's actually digital people. If you look at the top left and then look at the bottom center, there's digital people added because we wanted the line to keep going as they kind of make their way in. This was a tricky scene, though.
Yeah, that was a very tricky shot of kind of a hazy light, bright light to a very dimly lit Jeremy Sandy, who's been on the show.
Yep.
Trying to make that match that close up, which was really well lit, actually.
Yeah.
And then good old Cedric right there.
There's Cedric. If you've seen Heirloom, he was one of our pirates in Heirloom, or one of our
Yep.
guys in Heirloom. This
was
shot,
a stupid, tricky shot.
yeah, this one's really hard. You can see a massive difference for the most part. No, it's pretty good.
No, I
It
did
was
pretty
close.
I figured this one out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because we have the two different looks. The next look is coming, but that outside light has got to be a different color, so it's a bunch of power masks that keep it from falling too far into the other room. And then a very stylized Mad Max, I think, is either coming out or not, which I'm glad because this is totally different than Mad Max.
Yeah, it wasn't
In
out
that
yet.
sense. Yeah,
It came
it's,
out while we were finishing.
but it is a very post-apocalyptic feel of the same style to me now, which this was us going a little crazy with a stylized look for a different section.
Well,
And I
there's
actually really dig it.
There's multiple races. And my only complaint with that sequence is and I'm not slamming my wife. She was the costume designer. I'm just not a fan of the costumes. Just didn't dig them very much. This is a set. So this actual
Yes.
hallway is built inside of a small, it's actually Dino's gun shop now up the
Yeah,
road. You guys
it
have
is.
seen us talk about it or heard us talk about it. It's right up the road. So we're switching between multiple locations on different days here. And, you know, that's just film magic.
That was a pre-shoot.
And I will
before
show
we
you the
went in there.
GH4 shot will be an overhead shot looking down if I didn't already miss it. I might have missed it. But it
You
was
missed one of them.
Yeah.
You have
Anytime you
missed
see
one.
him looking kind of straight down, those are GH4 shots. I might have missed that through there. These are all red scarlet. I think it was
Yeah.
2 camera shoot. When
Yeah,
doing
we
these.
were when we were doing the fight sequence. It was 2 camera shoot.
Yeah.
It was Kevin and Tim Dixon.
The stunt guys, actually, the guy with the no shirt on, that mistakenly looks like our hero. That was a mistake on me. Is look at that grade difference.
Yeah,
Wow.
big time. Yeah, we changed it a lot.
Yeah.
in spots.
That the guy that was performing without a shirt on is a stunt performer. That fellow is up for a stunt award or won one.
Oh,
He
nice.
was the guy in the epic atomic blonde fight. That's him.
Snap. Yeah, okay, cool.
So he's a super nice
Yeah.
guy. So we're just gonna let it loop.
We're just looping around.
Just to let it play through.
Yeah. Man,
So-
I forgot about these early composite VFX.
Oh yeah.
I actually really enjoy that. There's a lot of power windows on the big city there too. So
We
the
didn't
very
talk about
the front and the back one are the two biggest. That big city that's up in the sky is jokingly probably the most power windows I've ever done.
Yeah, we did.
There's a good probably 40 or 50 power windows on that city.
And it was one of those things where the render came in, and I couldn't afford to kick it back to the VFX house to render. I'd rather just use Jeff to do the labor, so we cranked away.
Yeah, it was basically, it came over flat.
Right.
But there's enough detail there to where we could pull out some contrast, and we started building contrast around to make it look like it was three-dimensional.
So completely built inside of that space. And you can't see it, but Vikings, we got your guy here.
Yeah,
Put him.
Once we click in, he'll be here.
Vikings is here.
It's good to see you, Espen.
Yep.
It's been a while.
Yep. So do you want to look at any questions? Is there any questions to go over?
Let's see.
I'll say
so
what I'll do
real
is I'll
telling
just-
us the blue screen is huge.
Yeah, that is right.
Yeah, it was a very large blue screen.
The most expensive blue screen in the world.
Uh-huh.
And the most powerful, I mean, it took a lot of horsepower to light it.
Did. Almost like it took the sun to light it.
Yeah, almost like it took the sun. All right, I'm going to jump out of this. There we go. If you guys have any more questions, you can
reference. We got
reference
really
them.
lucky, actually, with the completely blue sky.
All 3 days.
Like, thinking about it, yeah.
Not a single issue. You know, that's what it was.
Yeah. I agree, Impeg. I mean, when we shot this, HDR was not even a thing. HDRX was really what we had with the red. Now, I do think it's perfect. I
do too.
We just need to
I think it would be a good
take
experiment.
the time to do some experimenting with it and throw it out there.
We may just send it around and talk about it. And I can go over like an itemized budget on that if we ever get everything done and prepped for Fest. Like we talked about for commercials, we can do it for that
That'd actually be a really good one.
Yeah, that's a big budget, and it's a hefty budget, and there's a lot of line items to go over. And I'm more comfortable doing that in that setting than I am revealing like the total numbers here. Only just for the sake of all parties involved, including my own business partners. So we can kind of do that kind of stuff. Just looking at the stuff here. Just talking
I like
about,
this one. 1.21 gigawatts.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, the tunnel was lit really well.
It really did fit really well.
That's a seasoned
with the Ford.
DP.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to kind of tie things
That's
together.
a seasoned DP and a seasoned dolly operator, actually.
Yeah.
Because we went back and forth on that dolly push a lot.
Yeah. Oh, that was Glennard.
That was Glennard. It
Sure was. Glennard, who is like the human Moco machine. That guy can track, like, I mean, he can literally almost match it perfectly.
That was, I mean, coming from Marcus, our gaffer, and got from everybody, just whoever went on that location scout, really.
Yeah.
Being able to reconstruct a tunnel, our department, you know, that in construction to be able to make it look just like it was living in that Ford.
And there was a green screen at the end,
Oh,
obviously,
well,
and then I did that comp. That was another lazy man.
It was a green screen with, we kicked in a bunch of light too from that.
We did kick in a bunch of light.
So we
I'm
get
gonna
that
see if I can
reveal.
find that
yeah, it's
GH4
all lit.
shot. So we can,
Oh, there you go. Keep going.
yeah, it's weird though. Trying to cue stuff
I
up in
got
this.
first little section.
All right, so I'm going to cue
This
up
is
the
the main
GH4
one.
shot. Look for this overhead shot if you guys want to see it. But I thought it was kind of funny. Matt shot it for us, and we were like, yeah, whatever. Well, you know. And we found one. So somewhere in here, you're going to see like an overhead fight shot. It's pretty close.
All right.
Oh, yeah, that is
That right
GH4.
there.
And I can see the difference. I can physically see it between the two. It just does what it does. You know what I might be able to do?
It does, and I don't think he had
I might be able to
V-Log at
move
the
it.
time.
I don't think you
On
have
that
V-Log.
camera?
No.
I was trying to match.
So, who knows what color
that.
profile that is?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I do remember it being very hard to match
I'm just going to let this
at
loop,
the time.
and then that way we can all kind of see it together. So, yeah, we're just looking at this GH4 shot. If we want a pixel peep, it's just going to loop. So it's this overhead shot right here, and you can see it. It looks like video.
You can. Why in the grass?
And
is
I don't know
also
what he was
slightly
shooting on
different.
either. I don't know if he
either.
was shooting 2398. I don't know if GH4 had
The bit rates are
true
different.
24 or if it had the ability to do something else. But it's kind of fun to see. Here's, you know, GH4 going into a... Granted, it was an indie, but it still matched its way in.
It did. It's a simple, quick cut that...
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's what I would use it for. In
you're
that
not
case.
going to see the difference.
We have all that stuff kind of built in. So yeah, that's kind of it. That's the process. We just wanted to show it and break it down and talk about it in that way. I mean, I could talk in length, in greater detail. There's a good bit of info.
The whole stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if we could...
The delivering of VFX and back and the audio sound design of this is, to me, honestly, the best part.
Well, it's a shame that I can't get it to work in the 5.1 as intended. We actually mixed in 7.1, but it's a little tricky, and the mix itself, I've got to pull unarchived files to get to it. This is just what I happened to find when I was doing some archival work for us, trying to do some backups. I was like, holy cow, we have this play blast. We can't kind of, watch the film. We have the composer edit that has temp effects. Well, that makes for a great story. So that's kind of where we are in that process. Now, the only other thing I would have done on a lower budget or been forced into that is I probably would have tightened it up a little bit more, and it would have been, the story itself would have been less bloated. This would have ran about 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes, and just been super slick, straightforward. Here's the story, here we go.
Yeah, nowadays, and the more that we've both had to deal with people pitching projects,
right?
I agree.
Yeah,
it needs to be shorter,
and it wasn't really well framed for a cell phone.
Nah,
it was framed for a theater.
Yeah,
and that's my mistake too. That's not Alex's. That's me.
That also isn't really. It's hard. It's a hard mistake to think about because in today's world, yes, that's a mistake.
Yeah.
But even just 2 years ago, it's not really that big of a mistake.
No, it wasn't as...
when we did Aether, it wasn't a mistake at all, really. It was just... It was kind of an oversight of something that was coming. Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to shoot on anamorphic, but we couldn't because of the VFX.
Because even at that time with the... That's why... Honestly, I think we've shown somewhere way, way back the lens grid that we have.
Yep.
That's why we got the lens grid.
Right.
Was for the spherical lenses.
Right. Because the anamorphic VFX are just, again, cost differential.
Yes. Way bigger.
Trust me, the conversation came up, and immediately Horst was like, you're never going to convince Alex of that, because Alex is a VFX DP and he knows what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. And I went to the producer, and then we went to Alex, and Alex was like, no way.
Yeah.
He was like, that's a nightmare that doesn't need to happen for what you guys are trying to do. I just don't think it'll add anything. It would have been cool, though. And I think you could probably, with as much wide shots as we got, you could probably fake it. That's the only other thing I think about is maybe I missed more inserts.
Yeah.
Textural inserts.
I think we did miss inserts.
Yeah.
Because when they're in there, like the guy grabbing the rail, stuff like that.
That's a great shot.
Really
and they really stand out. So.
They really do stand out. Let's see. So you prefer the apocalyptic look over the steampunk look?
Yes, and the reason why is
I actually do.
Yeah. I like a hybrid. I'm more of a sci-fi guy than I am a fantasy guy, and I feel like mixing between steampunk and apocalyptic gives me kind of more the vibe I want if I'm going to do something without high technology or sci-fi technology in it. It works better for me. And, it just was it was a thing. Like, I love steampunk. I'm a fan of it. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to tell a story that wasn't set... There's a lot of factions inside of steampunk as far as, like, the community goes of, like, there's people that do... sort of the traditional late 1800s, turn of the century type stuff, and then there's some people that do the fantasy type stuff, and there's some that do post-apocalyptipunk, as
it went from steampunk to like a whole bunch of different.
And it was so broad that it was really hard to, as a community, they're amazing and they're wonderfully talented people, but it was very hard to kind of. We're not saying this is steampunk. We're not, we didn't want to say this is the definitive look because people get defensive on that stuff, and that's not what I was there to do. I just wanted to tell it different. I just want to show something different. I remember the days, like, again, as a fan guy, like a movie person, a fan of science fiction and even fantasy, but more so sci-fi. I remember the days when, like, the clothes and the outfits and the dressing they didn't look like modern stuff. Like, I watch Hunger Games. That's just modern clothes or really simple patterns.
Yeah, or the new Robin Hood that's coming out.
Yeah.
That is, like, all stitched and perfectly hemmed pieces.
I miss the times when it was like someone spent a lot of time building the costume. And I'm sure those people did too, but I'm just saying, like, I like the world to feel lived in.
Yeah.
Almost like a video game, and maybe that was a mistake too, is that it felt more video gamey than anything else. I don't know. I'm just being candid and honest. Like, you guys can tell me if you think it sucks. It doesn't bother me. I'd love to know what about it you thought sucked. Obviously, Story is the one I pointed out earlier, but if there's something else, Jeff can take it too. If you tell him the collar sucks, he will only go cry for 3 days. Actually, I don't need you guys to do that. We're too busy for you to insult Jeff.
Yeah, I'll only cry for like maybe half a second.
In fact, you just cried.
Yeah, I don't really.
Yeah.
But it is
I like feedback, though.
But it is a project that I truly did care about.
Yeah.
I don't want it to sound like I didn't care about what I was grading. It was very much a passion project for me, but
yep. Because Jeff got paid a nickel.
Pretty much.
In nickels. It was a giant sack of nickels. He melted it down and made a watch.
Weirdly, I could see Horace actually paying me that way someday.
Horace is the kind of guy that
he
would pay
do
you in
that.
nickels. Yeah.
He would.
He'd be like, nickels or dimes? You'd be like, what? And he would hold up a sack of 10 million nickels and dimes. 10 million would be pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take... Hold on, let me get a calculator out. Jeez.
Yeah.
My phone is just blowing up.
Yeah.
Actually, I need to take one of these because it is business related. Okay,
right.
cool. That's done.
Well, if there's no other thoughts, questions, or comments, I'm going to kill the streams, Ray.
Well, Espen was asking what production is this. Espen came in a little late.
Oh, Espen, that is a short film that we made.
Yes.
A while back.
And then Thomas was asking, is there a brief explanation of cell phone framing versus theater framing?
It's closer. Cell phone framing's closer. It's a lot more close-ups, and usually it's brighter. So in the cell phone side of things, like if you watch things, at least to me, I see it in stuff like the Marvel TV shows on Netflix. There's a lot. I mean, there'll be a wide shot.
Yeah. The wider shots are not nearly the grand scale epic wide shots.
Right. And they're framed in such a way that you can tell they're, like if you're looking at your phone, you can still see where the subject is. Whereas I would frame a wide shot, ultra wide, and then have the subject very small. That's very bad for your cell phone because then you know your eyes are tracking trying to find them.
Which is something we ran into actually this weekend.
Yeah.
Where I did one, so I ended up shooting 4 different versions of it for us so that we have the epic wide shot that Drew and I both love, down to a extremely wide shot that still you can
wide.
See everything.
Right.
So
that's just that. So I don't know. That's kind of how I'd put it.
Yeah. Jeff Fagan, are we using GH5S for the stream today? We are, but the lighting is all different. We don't even know what the settings on the camera are. We just set it up and turn it on.
We had I don't think she ever made it onto the show.
She never made it on the show.
When we
I don't think she ever made it on the show.
When we very first started this channel, there was an intern working for Tone Change.
Yes.
Father Tone Change. I don't know if you're here, but
I haven't seen
there's an intern working with Tone Change, and when that dissolved, she had to go find a job, and she literally was in here selling. I think she works for a large company now, but she was selling, and to one of the guys in the building, she was like, "I used to come to this building with these 2 crazy guys," and he said, "Oh, they're right down the hall." And so we saw her and we chatted for a little while. So reminisced.
Yep.
Lovely, lovely. We tried to get her on the show. She wouldn't do it. Just a delightful, funny, lovely person. Just one of those people you enjoy being around. She's quite bubbly and fun. Very smart. Sharp as a tack.
Yes. Will you shoot any more anamorphic stuff soon?
Yep.
Very, very soon.
Yeah, we're going
very
back.
soon.
We're going back up.
Yeah. So if you had a smaller budget, you think that you would make it look more apocalyptic because it literally is cheaper and worn?
Yes. And the story would have been tighter. Because I wouldn't have had the ability to tell such a grand scale concept. Maybe we would have just done something simple, like a shadow going over his head. I thought about that after the fact. Like I should have just had, like the city was, Star Wars style, drifting over his head, and you just get one quick shot or something like that.
Yeah.
Still, it wasn't a cheap short. It wasn't a cheap short to create, either way. But I probably would approach it slightly differently. I probably would have shot at Sloss.
I would have shot a mixture, actually. Probably would have shot a mixture.
Well, that was the original intent, was
personally
to shoot Sloss and...
But if you had to choose one spot...
Sloss is the heirloom rusty base
I actually
place.
probably... Sloss would have been... Especially at that time period. Now you can't even get out... Like, you can't shoot out of the park without seeing some new construction.
Well, I mean, if we did all the VFX to do that, it wouldn't matter.
And we would have had to actually put up actual screens of some sort.
Maybe.
In spots, I think.
But I did it again with heirloom, essentially. Like I got.
We did.
I got to shoot the original locations I wanted.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what heirloom. Because I wanted All right, this is straight transparency of laziness. So, in the movie, the original concept of Aether, when we were making films here in the state, I wanted to have the poorest of poor live in the town of Specter, which is where we see Nate open the movie of Heirloom.
Yeah.
That's where that was originally written, for them to be there. And it was like just a poor little town. The kind of Mad Max steampunk crazy looking guys in the green sort of light, they would have been in the Sloss area, right? They would have been there. And then there was just some sequences where the mountains were used, and I was using North Alabama, which is Fort Payne, which is where Nate's journey begins, and the waterfall and all that stuff. So I took the locations that I already knew about to kind of make Heirloom happen in that capacity and just repurposed them. Because I couldn't get them for Aether, so I got them for this. And then I probably, and then the city of Birmingham has a couple of buildings that look exactly like the kind of stuff we were after.
Yeah.
There you go. That's straight truth. No one, I don't think I've ever told that to anybody. Except for Jeff.
And Horst.
And Horst. And Jeremy. And Jeremy's wife. And my wife.
And probably Jared.
No, I haven't told that to that many people, in all honesty. Maybe Jeff and Horst are really the only two. There we go. What do we got?
Yeah, not much.
Primes? Are you asking us?
That's Dutch video shooter.
Yeah. He came to hijack our show. I get it.
Yeah. He's almost got a single focus GH5 of finished primes.
There we go.
For those anamorphic.
Yep.
It's pretty good.
Look at spam bombing. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to kill the streams because we have to go pack a car because we have 5 straight days of shooting ahead of us.
We do, but yeah.
Oh, you got Saturday off, though.
Yeah, from this. Yeah.
I'm stuck with it. All right, the other shows will pop up. If you have any thoughts, questions, comments, throw them down below. We'll try.